Hello beautifuls, this is Aromie here, and welcome back to Changeling. We are here currently on the phone with Danny, trying to tell him that we forgot most of our memories. And it's tough out here, real tough out here. But I'm fine physically. I'm not really upset or anything either. I'm just a little confused. Maybe he just needs rest for a bit. We'll talk tomorrow, okay? In the meantime, Ellie and I are going to try to figure out where you went and how you got home. Yeah, I'll talk to you then. Okay, bye Danny, don't worry about me, okay? Bye. We hung up and I was left sitting on my bed, holding my phone and still not really knowing what had happened to me. Chapter 8, Wolf Bite. I was grateful that Monday was a school holiday because November 1st, by the way, I didn't really sleep at all last night. I was grateful that I remembered it was a school holiday too. I spent most of the night making a list of what I could remember and what I couldn't. I had managed to put together a rough timeline of things that had happened since we moved back to Pine Hollow. Every now and then a new memory would surface as I tried to work out what had been going on in my life the last few weeks. It seemed like the worst holes in my memories were from recent months, and in particular since the move. I had also spent a good portion of the night texting Allie as we tried to work out what had happened between my getting separated from Ellie and Danny and my waking up in the backyard. The boys apparently went back out to the woods to see if they could make out some sense of my muddled trail. They hadn't had much luck, and I still couldn't remember any of it. Everyone wanted to meet up at the clubroom later in the day to talk about it. Apparently it was accessible, even when the school was closed, but I had something else I wanted to do that morning, something I needed to do alone. I needed answers, but the others were just as clueless about what happened as I was, so I was going to have to look for them somewhere else. Are you sure you're feeling okay? I'm fine, just a little tired, stayed up too late drawing. You know what, I've told you about that. I know. Mom tipped her head back and looked at me critically. Your hair has gotten really long, hasn't it? You have no idea. I still couldn't really explain the sudden growth to my waist. Oh, it's down to my waist? So I tried putting it up to disguise it a bit. I had to try to keep it hidden until I could get it cut. Mom watched me pull down my brown jacket, which I finally had remembered buying a few months ago. Are you going somewhere this morning? Yeah, I have somewhere I want to go. Then Allie wants to meet up later if that's okay. No homework to catch up on? Nothing that's immediately due. Probably. Try not to stay out all day, okay? Sure, I'll be back by mid-afternoon, I think. I gave her a quick hug and stepped outside. I was hoping I could leave without Dana or Elliot seeing me. Thankfully, Spencer was at the shop with Dad, still working off being grounded. I was kind of sorry when I remembered that particular incident. It would have been better forgotten, I think. But in a way, it meant I could take the car. The shopping district at the town square wasn't far, but I honestly didn't trust myself to not get lost. Getting lost in a car wasn't as bad as getting lost while walking. I remembered enough of our date now to recall Danny telling me that Corbin's siblings were known as an information source and a sort of think tank of problem solvers for the paranormal. If anyone might be able to help me figure out what was going on with, well, me, it would be them. Probably. Maybe. I hoped. I didn't know how to access the paranormal part of the shop from anywhere other than the courtyard, so I hoped that if I went in the main entrance, it would take me to the right place. I parked in the first available spot I found and hurried down the sidewalk to the cafe. I nearly went in the front entrance when I spotted a little side door tucked away in the narrow alley between the cafe and another building. I could feel the faint thrum of something, magic maybe, and I abandoned the front door, heading in through the side instead. The moment I stepped in, I knew I was in the right place. For one thing, I'd seen a few customers through the front windows, but when I got inside, it was empty. And just the feeling, something about the atmosphere made it obvious. Michiko? Hi, Corbin! I haven't seen your face in a while. I looked to my left and saw Corbin standing as if he'd just come out of the kitchen. He hurried over to me, a worried look on his face. What are you doing here? I came because I heard this is a place I can find some answers. Corbin glanced back to the kitchen, a worried look still on his face. It's not that you can't, but... He trolled off and looked at me curiously, as if noticing something for the first time. Your hair is longer. Yeah. And that's not all. Something is different. That's part of why I'm here. But, welcome to the murder. I turned and spotted a vaguely familiar face walking toward us with a smile on his face. Oh, it's your handsome brother. I knew he was Corbin's brother, but I couldn't quite remember his name. M something. It looks like you're back. Yeah, I know I was here recently, but... He tipped his head back, studying me quietly. This isn't quite what I meant. Oh? No, then? No. He smiled slightly. What can I get for you today? I think Corbin, please go to the kitchen. Aya was looking for you. Fuck. I don't... She doesn't remember his name. Corbin's... neither do I. Is it Mel? No. Corbin's shoulders drooped and he mumbled a response I didn't hear properly as he slinked to the kitchen, casting a worried glance over his shoulder as he went. Why is he so worried? So, what is it you were looking for today? Well, I was actually kind of hoping for answers. He nodded as if that answer had been what he was expecting. Well, we'll do what we can. Come this way. He started walking me to a table across the room, pulling off the short apron he wore as he walked. I stared at the back of his head, racking my brain to figure out his name. Merlin? Merle, I think. Merle? He stopped and looked at me expectantly as he waved me to one of the chairs. Yes? just checking. I have bad memories of names. I let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness. He gave me a questioning look. Sorry, well, it's part of why I'm here. I'm kind of having trouble remembering things, like a lot of trouble. A disturbing amount of trouble. Basically, it's like some part of my brain had potentially melted, resulting in partial amnesia. Muro just nodded as he sat across from me. I got the feeling he was totally unsurprised by that claim. Then let's get down to business. When did you first notice you were having trouble with your memories? He looked up and waved his hand as if he was waving someone over to the table. To my surprise, a very large black raven fluttered down from the rafters and landed in front of me. It peered up at me curiously, cocking its head to the side. Familiar. I ate it warily before looking back at Murrow and taking a deep breath. First things first. Before that, why was Corvin so worried? I want answers, but I also don't want to make a mistake here. Corey? He always worries. Why? Listen, we can definitely find answers to your problem, whatever problem you have. It's just that the answers we find aren't always pleasant. Sometimes people regret asking. Then that's on them, isn't it? It is. We are, after all, neutral. We only do what people ask us to do. It's what they pay us for, which is probably his other concern. Our information isn't free, and sometimes people don't wish to pay our price. I'll pay whatever you need me to. Well, short of giving up my soul or something. That's probably a bit, I hesitated. You're not going to ask for my soul, are you? He just laughed. Good. I'm not going to stumble around without knowing what's going on anymore. I don't mind paying. I just hope you have a payment plan because I don't have much money. Right. I guess the memory thing has really been going on for a while. I've had several incidents in the past. I'm familiar with those incidents, I believe. How? What? How? Well, I guess that makes sense. It makes sense because he can find answers for us, but how? What? How? Well, we do deal in information. It would be strange if I didn't know who you were. Well, would it? Would it be strange if you didn't know that off the top of your head? I think it would be. That's creepy. I'm not sure if I should be insulted by that. Sorry, but I don't exactly recall telling you. Well, we're familiar with most of the strange events that have taken place in this town. My disappearances weren't even that strange. They were pretty strange, given the previous disappearance of your brother especially. 3 times with one family. Wait, what? Spencer never... I hissed as pain exploded through my head. Murrow was up and next to me in seconds. Sorry, I suspected that would break the seal on those memories. I know it hurts, just bear with it. So, Spencer got lost too? A flood of images were pouring into my head. Too much. It was too much to deal with at once. Oh my god, how could I forget that? Spencer had disappeared. He vanished for days. People were looking for him. We were all scared. We had no idea where he went. I kept hearing voices singing. They wouldn't let me go looking. I ran out into the woods when Grandma was busy. I ran to the fairy hill. They had him, and they wouldn't let him go. I made a deal with them. I said I'd take his place. They let me go home to say goodbye, and then they said they'd come for me, but they never did. That's where you're wrong. A blonde woman, clearly a waitress of some kind, set a glass of water in front of me. Who are you? This is Kaya? Kaya? She works here too. You could call her our resident fairy expert. Kaya rolled her eyes, his way scowling. You could call me that, though I wouldn't recommend it terribly. Murrow chuckled softly, enthused by the glare. But I do have some experiences with fairies, and changelings more specifically. Changelings? I knew what that was. Well, okay, I need a minute to think about this. I made a deal with the fairies and that helped take Spencer's place. I remember that now, and they sealed my memories of it. It seems that way, but the seal had started to erode a bit. That's right. I remember, Vilos. Vilos said something about that. I'd seen a photo of that mound and it caused me to black out. He said it was due to sealed memories. The seal had weakened considerably, so when I mentioned your brother's disappearance, it was enough to completely break it down. What do you mean that the fairies came for me? I trolled off. I did remember something about that, but it was all fuzzy and weird. They clearly didn't take me away. I mean, I've been here the whole time. Yes and no. Part of you was here, and part of you was there, in fairy. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Soul transfer, right? That's a usual technique. Soul transfer. It's a technique fairies prefer for changelings these days. What does that mean? Soul transfer. I mean, I get the concept, but transferring my soul where? Into the body of a fairy. I thought I was a fairy. Not quite. You said you made a deal with them, right? Man, I am so lost. You're going to have to start with the beginning with this. I didn't know what I had been expecting, but that wasn't it, for sure. I felt like I'd suddenly stepped into a really bad science fiction movie, and I just found out I was a pod person. Kaya aside. Or Kaya. The short version is that fairies had been taking human children to their realm for centuries and replacing them with fairy changelings. In the past, humans had a tendency to catch on to it. After all, fairies are pretty rubbish at actually behaving like humans, so fairies came up with the sneakier ways to get what they wanted, and ultimately the strategy they hit upon was soul transfer. Take the child's body to fairy for safekeeping and transfer the soul into a fairy body to serve as camouflage for the changeling. When the child reaches maturity, returning their soul to the original body in fairy, and there you go. The fairies get their human and no one has to die. But why? Why is it so important to capture humans? What's that even about? Preservation of the species, most likely. That's a common theory. Fairy life force is pretty fragile. They've got impressive magic, but their life energy is just too frail. Every passing generation is weaker than the last. Without the injection of new blood and of a stronger life energy, they die out. If you tell me they were planning to breed me, I'm gonna go dig up that fairy hill and start strangling people. Well, we can avoid telling you if you like, but seriously, breeding stock? Why so shocked by that? What else would they want you for? How should I know? I sighed. Okay, setting that aside for the moment, even though I was not happy about the revelation at all. So you're telling me that when I was around 7, my body was kidnapped by fairies and my soul was just shoved into a spare fairy, where it's been all this time, and now I'm some weird fairy human thing? I mean, you're back in your original body from what I can tell. Your aura is, well, it's not quite fairy. Not entirely human either, though. Wait, what? I swapped back. When? I assume that's why you were here. Last night. Something happened last night. But what is the question I'm wondering? How on earth did you manage to break that contract on your own? Even I never figured that out. There are methods, but the ones that work aren't exactly safe. I don't know. My memories are still kind of fuzzy. I'm not surprised. To be honest, your soul is a little frayed around the edges, like it was forcibly ripped from somewhere, probably the other body, before it was returned. My soul is frayed. Is that, bad? Sounds bad. Souls are pretty resilient. It'll heal up, but that's why your memories are a bit messed up. How do you know? I can see souls and magic auras, actually. Most of us in the shop can. My magic is life-oriented. I can see living souls, and I can also assess the physical well-being of someone's body, like identifying sickness or problems with them. That's why I knew when I met you that your soul and body just didn't match, though I didn't realize at that point you were a changeling. Why didn't you say anything? Well, that's not really something you just say to someone, is it? I guess not. We are born in the bodies we're meant to be in, for better or worse. For me, seeing you in that fairy's body was like seeing a child wearing their father's coat. It just didn't fit you. But what about the fairy that body belonged to? She would have been there too, sleeping in a corner of your mind during the day. You're probably fairly convincingly fey to people just sensitive to magic or auras. Because of my magic, I can see a bit further than that, so I could tell the difference. I looked at him through my fingers, thinking about that voice I had heard in my dreams or when I was sleepwalking. Wait, the sleepwalking, how did that fit into this? I shook my head. We were trying to fit too many pieces of the puzzle together all at once. What exactly do you remember about last night? Well, I went out with Dan and Elliot, first them hang. I was supposed to be back by sundown. One minute I was out in the woods with them, and the next, I shook my head. I don't know. I was in my backyard, shoeless. My memories were all jumbled. Most of what's missing seems to be from the last few months. A lot has come back to me, but last night's a total blink. And my hair is longer. Look! I reached out to pull it out from my messy bun, letting it fall down my back. You remembered from when I was here the other day, right? It was a lot shorter, but when I woke up in my backyard, it was like this. Well, your body was off and fairy for the last, 10 years? I'm sure they didn't bother with regular hairstyling. I have to admit, you're taking all this better than I thought you would. Oh, don't worry, I'll go 2 pieces later. I'm just still trying to get my head around it. Yeah, well, I guess I'm glad the act is convincing. Honestly, I'm just still trying to get my head around this. Like, yeah, shit's crazy right now, but I don't think me overly worrying about things is gonna help. So I just need to take it one step at a time. I'm still trying to get my head around this, to be honest. I don't think I can properly react until I get what's actually going on. I mean, soul swapping, body transfers, not to mention that I can't even remember half of what happened in the last month. It's hard to freak out when I haven't even had time to fully absorb everything yet. I thought about that for a moment. I'm pretty sure I'll freak out later. I mean, it wasn't a lie. Once I was able to really grasp it all, freak out was inevitable. Look, right now, I'm just trying to work out what all this means. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. So now what? Well, you're already over the biggest hurdle. You broke your contract somehow. So that means things will go back to normal. No more sleepwalking and things. Sleepwalking. Yeah, I remember that too. I've been sort of going outside at night while asleep. We're having to use some kind of weird potion to keep me in my room at night. I doubt that was sleepwalking. It sounds more like it may have been the fairy taking control and trying to make her way back to fairy with your soul in tow. That actually makes sense. I did kind of have that feeling it wasn't normal sleepwalking. If that's the case, it shouldn't be an issue anymore. As for back to normal, that's a matter of debate. How so? You spent a decade in fairy, 10 years being bombarded by fairy magic. Oh shit, I gotta stop soon. More like I'm gonna stop after this sentence. Humans that stay in fairy for any significant length of time change. So I'm not a normal human, but I'm also not fae. What the hell am I at this point? Do I have any powers still, or am I just like a broken fairy? Because I'm not human. I'm somewhat fairy still, but I just don't have the abilities. That sucks. But anyway, thank you guys for watching today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.